very happy to be joined by Blue Jays shortstop, your friend and mine, Bo Bichette, on the line. Hey, Bo, thanks for doing this.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
We're going to start with you, where naturally we should start with tennis. Because, yeah, I know you grew up playing tennis. You played at a pretty high level. Your dad, I mean, has been on record as saying he would have preferred you to go down that line. Did you pay it? I know you guys had a game on Saturday, but how much have you been paying attention to Bianca Andreescu in the U.S. Open victory?
Yeah, we had a game, and I was trying to finish watching the match. It was, I think it was when she was going through that stretch where Serena was coming back in the second set. And I didn't get to finish it, so I went out to the field, and then 20 minutes later, somebody came out and said Bianca won. So yeah, I mean, I follow tennis a lot, and so I was definitely interested to see how she do, especially with the attention she gets here in the country.
So I read that same quote. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, that your dad used to say he wished you were a tennis player, and he said you were a high-level tennis player. But that doesn't happen now still, right? Like, you guys aren't having dinner, and you're going.
He's like, I know you're good, but you know what kind of a tennis player you would have been?
Still think you should have played tennis. So, like, he still kind of resents you, has a glass of wine, and starts talking about how good you could have been.
No, he definitely does. He still does. He'll look at me and say, "Man, you could have been so good at tennis." But I think that he's happy with the decision I made and everything. Even sometimes I'll watch the matches. Like when I was watching Nadal's match the other day, I was like, "Man, that looks fun." But no, I'm happy with the decision I made.
Well, what's it like? Like, do you still play recreationally? Like, what do you do with it?
Yeah, I try to use it in the off season to train. Just try and get away from baseball, but keep on, working on moving my feet and getting the right hop and stuff like that on the tennis court, so I don't have to go out and take ground balls so early in the off season. So I'll do that pretty much, probably like a couple weeks after I get home, and then for about a month or two after that.
I really like that because and this is something that we've talked about a lot. There was an article that came out on ESPN a few months back, and we talked to the author about specialization and just that, injuries are actually up across, mainly the article was focusing on basketball, but it applies to other sports too, that we're seeing, injuries go up because people are playing the same sport and they're putting too much tax on their bodies at too young of an age. And that there actually is a lot of data to support, kids playing other sports and being encouraged to play other sports. And so, yeah, for someone like you who had, a father in the major leagues and, who was rubbing shoulders with big leaguers at a very young age, did you find that same thing, that it was important for you to play other sports and get away from baseball and use those skills to apply to your game?
Yeah, definitely. I think I wish I would have played more sports, to be honest. I played everything like when I was really little, but I wish I would have played a little bit, like a little bit older, basketball, football. I've only played tennis and baseball, competitively at an older age. So I wish I would have done more, but it's definitely, I think that the tennis definitely helped me a lot.
Who was your guy growing up? Who was the tennis player that you idolized that was your favorite?
Oh, Rafa, no doubt. Man, that dude competes. I've never seen anything like it. The competitor he is, it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you were going to say yourself. Because the thing is, man, is we've gotten a lot of stories about your confidence and the way that it's worked for you coming up in the major leagues, and just that, with every person that you come across that will tell you about Bo Bichette, it will come with a couple stories. One is that, you're a very generous person, that you're a caring guy, that you're thoughtful. But two is that, you're confident. And if someone wants to teach you something, like, they better really come prepared because, you've had a lot of success on your own. And I wonder, when did that start? Like, is that just something that was always in you, or is that something that, once you started to find success, you just started to really double down and believe in yourself?
I think it just stems from the work that I've put in. I work pretty hard, and obviously coming from that, I've had pretty good success. I've never really failed to an extreme amount. So I always live by, like, I gotta listen. I never turn my ears off to advice, but for me, you definitely have to be confident in your ability and what you've worked on to get to the point. So that's really, it just comes from the work that I've put in, my confidence.
Who did you model your game off of? Because you're not a lot of people do what you do, Bo, whereas, like, you swing for the fences, you have these big swings early in counts, and you've got power even though you're not a hulking dude, but then you get to 2 strikes and you can extend at bats, and I think you're averaging over 4 pitches per at bat. Is that, like, it almost feels like almost entirely unique. Was there somebody you modeled your game off of? Like, who's the prototypical player for you?
Yeah, I mean, I never like looked at anybody and said I want to play like them. But coming in, getting older, like when I was about to get drafted, and then a couple years in the minor leagues, everybody would say, tell me that I have to tone it down and not swing so hard and not be as aggressive. And for me, looking at guys like Donaldson and Bautista and Javi Baez really is the big one right now. Looking at them and saying they do it, and just giving me that extra belief that I can do it if, they go out there and they swing as hard as they can and everything like that. So those guys are kind of the guys I looked at and just said, okay, like it can definitely be done, and gave me that little bit of extra confidence I needed.
Okay, so I just thought of something that maybe was a little bit surprising to you, but you're going to tell me is the recognizability factor. Like, just going from playing in Buffalo and people waiting on you, and I guess in 2019 people know what guys look like before they come up. They're probably seeing more of your minor league at bats than anyone's ever seen minor league before, especially when you were down in Buffalo. But what's it been like for you in terms of like acclimatizing yourself to living in Toronto and living in Toronto as a celebrity who's in his early 20s?
Yeah, I mean, I try to stay pretty low key. I don't really like to go out too much, but when I'm walking on the streets from game to back to my place, I'll get recognized a little bit. And it's a little weird. Like, I've been trying to put my hoodie on a little bit because I think they're recognizing me for my hair, and that's worked so far.
Oh,
but,
you think?
Yeah.
Oh, that really says out. You got the
so far,
shades on too. You're like, how are these people recognizing who I am?
Yeah. So the hoodies work so far, so I might have to keep on doing that. But sometimes I don't want to wear a hoodie, so I just, the selfies are a big thing. But it's been all right so far. It wasn't, honestly, not too surprising.
The problem for you is that the normal disguise that people would wear, which is like ball cap and sunglasses, is like exactly your look. It's like normally a celebrity goes into the mall. They're like, okay, how am I going to blend in? I'm John Hamm. It's like, put some sunglasses on, wear a ball cap nice and low, cover your face. Like, oh, that's Bo Bichette. He's right there. He's actually wearing his uniform. Hey, Bo, can we get a selfie? It is. And it's a good look. And I think a lot of people actually gravitate to it a lot. And one thing I'm super fascinated about is your relationship with Tulowitzki, because I know that when your dad was a hitting coach in Colorado, that you were able to rub elbows with him, and it was a relationship that extended down the line. Like, I think he invited you to Florida to come hit with him one off season, I think maybe 2017, 2018 range. And like, what's that like getting to know Tulo? Because from the outside, it's just like all we've ever heard of him is just absolute gym rat and like absolutely focused on baseball. So how did you cultivate that relationship?
Yeah, like you said, my dad was his hitting coach in I want to 13 or 14, something like that. And so I spent a lot of time with Tulo and with the rest of the Rockies, and honestly, it was him and it was Tulo and Nolan Arenado who really, I feel like, kind of changed my mindset on how I wanted to approach baseball. The way that they work, the way that, Tulo, since we're talking about him, he's an unbelievable worker. I mean, I've never seen somebody work so hard. I've never seen somebody be so focused when they work. I mean, it's pretty incredible how tough he was on himself. And I really looked at that and I said, well, if I want to be the best player I can be, I need to be like that. And so, he's been huge for me. That experience for me was huge, coming into pro ball and kind of deciding, what I wanted to be in this game. So I owe a lot of that to him.
Where do you think your defense is at? Because you just mentioned a couple of incredible defenders in Arenado and Tulowitzki, and we know that was a point of market improvement for you last season to this. Where do you think you're at defensively?
Yeah, I think I've played really well since I've been up here. I think there was a couple games, like the first week I was here, that I wasn't really comfortable yet up here. Still a little bit of nerves and stuff. But since then, I've been playing really well, and I feel comfortable. And honestly, I feel like I'm playing the best defense of my career. So I'm really excited with it. Just like my hitting and base running and everything, every part of my game, there's still so much more to accomplish out in the field. I want to be the best I can be, and I want to win a Gold Glove at some point. So there's so much more, but I'm excited with how it is right now.
Well, yeah. And had you ever even played on field turf before you arrived at the major leagues?
Yeah, but I mean, when I was like 13, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's embarrassing for the Rockies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I can't imagine. So it's like, okay, here's major league level. All the eyeballs are on you, televised nationally. Also, play defense on this surface you've never played on before. Like, that's a little nuts, isn't it?
No, it's fine. You just it takes 20 minutes to get used to it, before the game. It's not a big deal.
So a story I'd heard about you was that when you were looking at the draft, that you didn't enjoy the process very much, but also that you had told some teams not to bother drafting you because of the way that they handled players. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. My brother went through it a little bit, and we have so many friends that have been through the minor leagues that we've seen how certain teams handle players and how they want it to be. There's certain teams that want players to just kind of mold into the same player, kind of like you guys were talking about earlier. And then there's teams that allow players to be themselves, and so I think that's definitely underestimated and how important that is for a player's development. And so obviously I'm thankful I have my parents, helping me out with that decision. But, I just wanted to make sure that I was put in a good position to succeed.
Well, like I want to ask you why the Blue Jays were different than some other organizations, like, or maybe, they were a team that told you that and they just drafted you anyways. But yeah, the other part is, do you think that it's actually changing, like that this attitude is developing among young players, or that organizations are treating people a little bit different than before? Because yeah, I think that one of the problems the league has experienced over the last few years is, in terms of marketing players, the lack of individualism, and it's something that I think that you've tapped into as a player already.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a lot more of that now. The reason the Blue Jays were a good fit for me is you can look at Mark and Ross's track record and how they develop young players, and so they're among the best. So I mean that was an obvious choice. But I definitely think that players are coming up with more personality. They're allowed to be themselves more, and so hopefully that brings a lot more excitement to the game.